Hi there, professional writers. This is the second video about white papers, and it concerns research and how to research. And then I will show you at the end of the video or in the next video, if there's no time in this video, how to actually research. I'll take you to the library website, I'll take you to Google Scholar, I'll take you to some good sites that you can use. Okay? All right. Let's talk about white papers and researching. I'll also talk a little bit about the annotated bibliography that I expect from you this Sunday at midnight. Okay? All right. So let's review what goes into a white paper really quickly. Remember that your white paper should address a problem that is real in the real world that is also related to your business. And so in the last video, I talked about a restaurant. Other things that people have done is if they had business related to animals or to dogs, they did adoption rates, adopt not shop. They did puppy mills, they did vaccine information, they did breed discrimination. So those are all ones you could use. If people have had nonprofits, especially nonprofits to help children, they've gone over like what are the risks that children of color have to face, what are the incarceration rates, what is bad about youth incarceration, stuff like that. So those are some real world examples of things that people have done. Okay? Get a real problem, and then start to do some research on your problem. In your white paper, you're going to have to prove that this is a problem, and then discuss the causes of it and the consequences of it. How is it hurting the public? And then make sure you speak from the reader's point of view. Address the reader's pain points, not your business. Okay, so start with the reader and the problem, and informing the reader about the problem and the causes of the problem and the consequences of the problem. And then you can start to go into what are some solutions to the problem. These can come from research as well. Eventually, you're going to show your company has the best solution. Okay, so eventually it'll turn into a marketing document. It starts out informative and moves into, and this is why we're the best. Okay. All right, so when you're going about researching, these are like bad luck things. When you're going about researching, you can start with a question. You can start with an issue. You don't have to have it all figured out immediately or before you start. You can start with a topic as well. Eventually ask a question about a problem facing the world. Where does this problem come from and how can we fix it? Make sure you think about both sides of the topic. So some people did, they had a car company and they did research on electric cars, and so they looked at both sides. What is the benefits of an electric car, and why are people resistant to electric cars, or something like that, okay? Try to be objective. Now, objective means you're not taking any side, you're just given the facts. All right, and this got a little bit cut off. You should think about what kinds of information you are looking for, not just problems, but also solutions when you're researching, okay? All right, so here are some appropriate scholarly sources. Now I want you to use at least 3 scholarly sources. You can use more than that. You can use sources that aren't scholarly as long as you have 3 at least scholarly sources. Scholarly sources should be from reputable online websites. These are websites that end in .org or .gov or .edu, okay? Also, an appropriate scholarly source is an academic periodical or a journal or an article from a journal. I'm going to show you how to use the library databases to get some of those. Newspapers, I will count as a scholarly source as long as the newspaper is nonpartisan. So partisan newspapers could be Fox News, okay? So that Fox News is not really an appropriate scholarly source because they take a position and they have a particular worldview, okay? If you have questions about that, email me, okay, and I'll let you know if this is or is not an appropriate nonpartisan newspaper. A good, appropriate nonpartisan newspaper is usually NPR. They try to do balanced reporting, and they're not owned by anyone, so no one's trying to make money off them. And so NPR or PBS are very good newspapery type sources, okay? You can also look at government records. These are usually published with a .gov thing, whatever that's called. But those will count as a scholarly source, okay? All right, so you can look in the library. Now, this doesn't mean you actually have to physically go to the library, although you can, and librarians love to help if you end up showing up there in person. But you can look in the library databases, and this is a little bit easier because it's online, and I'll show you how to do that either at the end of this video or in the next one. You can look in the books. You can search for books in our library using keywords. We actually have a lot of ebooks. And then you can click on articles and look through the databases. Now, the databases I would suggest for real world problems are like Search Premier or OneFile, Global Issues, and Issues in Context. Now, this will become clear what I mean when I take you to the library website. Okay. Now, an often underutilized resource is Google Scholar. I use Google Scholar a lot because our library doesn't carry a lot of humanities type journals. And so Google Scholar is great. Basically, you go to the website, you type in scholar.google.com. But make sure if you do use this, not to stop at the first page or at the first hit. It works a little bit differently than regular Google. So keep clicking through the pages. The first page is not going to have the best resources necessarily. Also, there's going to be a finite number of pages. It's not infinite, okay? And I would personally look at or click on the linked PDFs. You can usually see those to the right, and I'll show you that in a little bit, okay? All right, so before you go to the websites or the databases, we got to figure out what you're doing, what you're researching. Once you have your topic, and it's a topic you're really excited about, I want you to try to get 5 sources related to this topic. You can bookmark them. You don't have to download them, as long as you can find them later. You can copy and paste links onto a Word document. Here's how to go about finding the sources, though, especially if you're stuck. Remember to use a variety of different keywords, okay? One person had a laundromat business, and they didn't know how to search. They didn't know how to get, they didn't know, basically they wanted to like research some problems facing the laundromat industry. They didn't know how. But I suggested, okay, don't just search laundromat issues. Also search laundry, washing clothes, you could search detergent. So anything that has to do with your business, okay? So I know someone's got a snowblowing company, maybe you want to do snowblower emissions, okay? Not just like why people should get their driveway snowblowed, but like what are some of the big issues about snowblowing right now? Can also search for phrases, laundry issues, clothing, controversies, stuff like that, okay? All right. Once you've got a bunch of sources, don't just think you've got 3 sources and then be done. You have to evaluate whether they're going to be helpful. I want 3 sources that you're definitely going to use that you think are going to be helpful, okay? So look at the quality of the sources. Try to figure out if they're nonpartisan. Try to figure out if they've done their homework. Try to figure out if, they're going to be helpful. Don't just accept whatever you find. Look for opposing positions. Look for, make sure that there's like a list of works cited, or bibliography or resources attached, and that can often prove that your source is reputable. And then, yeah, sometimes that can even lead you to more sources. Okay, so here's how to evaluate your sources. Websites ending in these good, whatever they're called, and sources from Google Scholar that are academic, and watch out for ones that are marketing. Okay, if you're not sure if a source is reputable, look for the list of references or the works cited. Consider the tone. Is it really casual? Because oftentimes a scholarly source is going to be more formal. Look at the style, and look at what are some of the assumptions that the author is making. Are they giving you facts, or are they giving you propaganda and opinions and trying to convince you to do something? Generally, you want sources that only present the facts. And you want, one way to tell if they're presenting facts is if the language is objective rather than emotional. You want to avoid emotional language. You want to avoid stuff with broad generalizations or oversimplifications. And even though that says kook, it should be look. Look into the author's credentials, okay? So if the author is just Joe Schmo, not so good. If the author has a degree from like a PhD from a big deal university and they've done a lot of studies, scholarly, okay? Same thing as cross-checking. Okay. This is how to make sure your source, basically, you got to make sure your source is going to help you. So read the preface or the abstract. You don't have to read the whole thing. You can skim bits of it, but you'll have to do a little bit of reading to figure out if it's going to help you. Look at the references and citations for more and or better sources. Look at how recent it is. Preferably, like, you don't want anything published before 2000 to prove it's a recent issue. If you find a really good source that's published before 2000, run it by me, and I'll see, kind of how I feel about it, and I'll give you advice for it, okay? And keep your topic and your purpose at the front of your mind. So don't get distracted by what is out there, okay? Keep your topic and your purpose at the front of your mind while evaluating and skimming these sources to figure out if they're going to help. All right, so eventually, once you got 3 scholarly sources that you think are going to help you, I want you to put them into an annotated bibliography or an annotated list of works cited. I call it different. I call it one of those 2 things, and you can call it whatever you want. Okay. So make sure you skim the source, make sure you have already evaluated that it's going to be helpful. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then basically, I want you to give the source in MLA format. And then I want a paragraph, a lengthy-ish paragraph, where you first try to summarize what your source is arguing in at least 1 to 2 sentences. And where you get good quotes or good statistics or good charts, any of these things, any good information, I want you to write that down in your annotated bibliography as well as the page number, okay? And then the third thing you need in the paragraph under your source is how you are going to use this particular source in your paper. Are you going to use it in the problem section, the solution section, both? How? Okay? All right, so that covers that. I'm actually going to post a Word document that can help. So you don't have to follow this. If you prefer not to, you don't have to, but basically this is kind of giving you some guidelines about what I want for the annotated bibliography or works cited. Do this part, write down the topic and your sources, and then use this to start brainstorming. I don't need answers to this. Okay.